4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look, and the drift is going off.
I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another race meeting here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour. We're here at the amazing Suzuka International Racing Circuit for 2 races tonight, rounds 2 and 3 of the championship, in the very first appearance of the sprint racing format here on Chaz Draycott Media and, of course, on Sim Racing Magazine's racing calendar. My name is Chaz Draycott, and I'm delighted to have back with me in the commentary box again this week the wonderful Ed May to join me for this first running of the sprint races. Ed, this is going to be a sort of history-making night for this community and this championship.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Chaz. It's great to be back here for the SRM GT4 Winter Series, and it's going to be exciting to see how the drivers will cope with a brand new format. The sprint racing is here, and it's going to be exciting to see what this might hold for the future. You never know. If it goes down a real treat, this could be something we'll take forward into what we would class as the sort of official series later on down the line, maybe at the start of next year.
Yeah, absolutely. The GT4 Challenge, of course, only having 1 hour endurance races so far in its history, so you never know what you're going to get here, especially when we're going to have these, well, heat races. Let's say it's just going to be the heat racing format here on iRacing, so it's going to be a different kettle of fish. This is how the championship points look though at the moment. Niles Kaur taking his first win in the championship and taking the first round of this season as well. He was ahead of Simon Povey and Arthur Thurtle, with Taylor Adams and Ben Chalcraft in there as well. So 3 drivers that are new to the GT4 category here in Sim Racing Magazine, doing a wonderful job. And it's also close in the Teams Championship as well, Ed, as we'd expect after just 1 race.
Yeah, obviously it's still a long way to go in the season, but these sprint rounds could be a real decisive factor as we look back later on in the season as to where it will change, because obviously they get full points awarded for both the first and the second race, just to keep that championship a little bit more up in the air and add a bit more spice into the mix. It was great to see so many new faces as well as returning ones at the season opener at Fuji Speedway, and we have Adam Watson out on the circuit for you in Altitude Esports, a team that we haven't really seen in the in a full season before. I think we've had them around for a couple of special events, but never as a proper Teams Championship entry, and they were very impressive. I mean, Arthur Thurtle, he was a real story, wasn't he, coming out of that first round?
Yeah, absolutely. Arthur Thurtle's pace was absolutely remarkable, and we expect him to be right up there at the top of the pile during these sprint races as well, and his teammate Adam Watson, who of course was only down there because he had those technical issues and wasn't able to fully race near the front of the pack. He didn't get 2 chances on the night like he's going to this evening. It's good to have Jacob Money back with us as well in the Sapphire Simsport BMW. He was a driver that started off the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge last season, but unfortunately due to other commitments had to stop racing as many rounds. Fellow BMW driver going well as well at the top is, of course, Nils Kor, the German driver, taking his first win in the GT4 category last time out in this gorgeous-looking race car. And, well, with what he's got going on currently in practice here, Ed, he's looking good for another one if it's based just on pace.
Yes, exactly. But he does have a bit of company as well with Matthias Pentila. I'm reliably informed that's how we pronounce his surname. And it's been really good to see him. Obviously, in his first outing, he managed to score some points. But now he's looking for even bigger and better things, potentially a first podium if this qualifying pace is to be believed. Seems to be so exciting, isn't it, when you get into the beginning of a season to see all the new faces and see their development. We had that with Niels Kor before, and now we've got it with all sorts of new faces, which is wonderful. And obviously new liveries as well to look through, as we have the Spontex Unwrapped out in force. Dominic Brennan with the lovely sort of cardboard-esque paint job with some very nice matching wheels as well too, with the green trim. You've obviously coordinated that well with the drivers you've got underneath your wing here, Chaz.
Well, I had to remind them to do it, but yeah, we're all right. But yes, the Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped cars on your screens for this season, everybody. It's great to have them. We are just going to give the liveries a little bit of a refresh here, because we've not got us. Actually, no, I think the spec map is on Dom's car. Oh well, we're going to try it anyway and see, because usually they're supposed to be matte, these cars, but I don't think the spec map has worked on trading paints for me. Still, we've got Mike Murphy on our screens as well. Mike made a fantastic debut as well. Don't forget, he and Ben Chalcraft as Renvort Remnants took part earlier on in the year, well, only 2 weeks ago actually, in the SRM Cours au Mans, the endurance race we did at Le Mans. He and Ben Chalcraft were teammates there in the LMP2 category and went really, really well. And Mike had a storming drive through the pack at the first race of the season at Fuji just last week as well. So he's going to be hoping for more of the same. James Holman is on our grid for this evening. He makes his return to our screens here on SRM. Now, we know that James is going to be rapid here. He's jumped to the Aston Martin for this championship, and that's an interesting storyline in itself, isn't it, Ed? Because the drivers now have a chance to test out other GT4 cars in this field rather than just testing them on their own. This is a definite sort of test bed and playground for the season ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, because it isn't what we would class as an official SRM GT4 Challenge season. It's like a little winter tour of tracks that aren't. Yeah, the off season essentially. It's basically where we go around to tracks that haven't seen as much love, and that has coincided with sort of it being a Pan Asia tour, with the last sort of half of the season travelling down to Australia for closing rounds. But it's going to be good to see the drivers not only adapt to new circuits, but also new machinery, as we've seen some drivers swap around and try things, see if the grass truly is greener on the other side. And it is in the Aston Martin where we saw a lot of what we would class, I think, as discourse around its pace, if it was quick or not, or if it was just there weren't enough quick drivers using it at the time, or if it was just maybe to do with the balance of performance, it wasn't quite up to where it should be. Same with, actually, it was the McLaren that was touted as sort of the fastest car, but we also noticed that while it had the strength of a one lap, it did struggle over the course of a race. And now I think McLaren's might not be the favoured car around a track like Suzuka, because it does churn through the tyres pretty significantly. It might not come into effect during these 30-minute sprints, but it's still something to keep your eyes on, as how the cars will perform over the course of the races, and if it's maybe going to suit one car to a different one in terms of the sprints versus an endurance format. Because we know from last season if you were going for the long haul, you would want the Porsche. It sipped its fuel like nothing else, and you're able to make some slightly different strategies work in that car compared to the rest of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the drivers moving over to the Porsche this time round is Gary Tall for Spontex CDM Esports. Gary has chosen to run the Little Cayman for this championship. It was actually the first car I ever started putting a Spontex CDM Esports livery on, but never completed it until Gary told me that he wanted to race the Porsche, so I did him a livery, and here we are. There are other Porsche drivers in the field as well. Tom Weston is currently the fastest of them. He sits in the pit lane at the moment. Then we've got both the Oris teams, so 3 of them driving Porsches. Oris Racing Yellow, which is Ralph and Heinz Mayer. And then we've got Kim Such Racing for Oris Racing Green, but then his teammate is Ryan Penny for this season, and Ryan is actually driving the Mercedes for this one. They've got an almost identical livery, but Ryan not here for this evening by the look of it, as the session ticks over and the sun is setting here at Suzuka. I have to remind everybody that we are going to be racing into the night here at Suzuka. The second race of the evening is almost going to be completely under lights, so we'll have to keep our eyes on proceedings. Here comes the field out of the pit lane though, Ed. It's a great noise and a wonderful rumble of all the V8s and fantastic screaming 6-cylinder engines of GT4 cars make their way out on track.
A wonderful sound, isn't it? All of the different engine notes making their way down onto the racetrack. Great as well to see a good friend of mine and former teammate of mine, Andrew Hopley, out in the Winter Series. He's had a little bit of a break from this championship, and also sim racing in general. I haven't seen him out on track as much recently, but it's great to have him back on our screens for what's set to be a very exciting Winter Series.
Speaking of people back on our screens, Michael Seal makes his first appearance in the championship this evening. He's a teammate, I believe, of Tom Weston, whose team name I need to change. I forgot about this actually last time, so I will apologise to Tom. Michael's coming into this as a privateer. He's not taking part in the a teams championship as such. But it's going to be AIRaceSummaries.com. Kendo is the team name for Tom Weston. But it's good to have Michael back. We've both worked with Michael in the past, actually, on the BSR side of things, actually. And it's always good to see a fellow colleague or a previous colleague on track and see how they get on when they're not sort of in the booth or on the organisational side of things, isn't it, Ed?
Yes, it is. It's wonderful to see Michael back out circuit. It's where I got my start, actually, was in the BSR MX-5 Mazdas on Monday. Really a great little championship to follow, full of action and not too dissimilar to this one in terms of the quality of racing that was on offer and the camaraderie as well. People would sometimes have a little moan and gripe at each other, but it was all resolved fairly quickly, and it's great to have that atmosphere here, of course, at Sim Racing Magazine, is that sense of community. So hopefully Michael feels very much welcomed and at home here with us, part of the Sim Racing Magazine family, and hopefully we'll see him later down the line as well for potentially more seasons or special events in the future. But for now, we have to focus on the drivers in this qualifying session as they're going to get started on their flying laps. And oh, this is so great. I'm finally seeing, almost sort of in the flesh, instead of it being on the live stream watching from my sick bed, this wonderful livery for the Oris Racing drivers, both the green and the yellow. Wonderful little tribute livery to the initial D anime series, also the manga as well, actually, for that matter. A wonderful looking bit of kit, that.
Yeah, based on the Toyota Corolla Terreno, I believe, the AE86, which was in the series. Great looking car, the hero car of it all, you could say. Taylor Adams was putting purple sectors in at the start of his lap, but actually it's Matthias Penteler that has gone quicker at the moment as he comes out of the hairpin. We've got this wider angle of the hairpin now, and we can see the cars from distance stuttering their way away. My frame rate seems to have not improved since last week, despite changing a load of graphical settings. Still, Needs must, we carry on. Can't do anything about it now. Adam Watson's actually done 2 purple sectors as well in the Aston Martin right now. Good to see Adam bouncing back, but he's gone a little bit wide through Spoon Curve. Easy to do that though, isn't it, Ed? It's a horrible, horrible corner in a car like this when the ABS is trying to kick your head in the whole way around and you're just trying to get that front end in.
Especially in the Aston Martin, that car, it just seems to respond so aggressively on the traction control cut. It just absolutely kneecaps the speed as you're trying to drive out of the corners. It's where something like a Porsche really excels. The traction control, it helps, but it isn't as vicious and it doesn't seem to hurt you as much as it can sometimes help arrest the slide, which is what obviously the traction control is designed around, maintaining control of the car without losing the speed and momentum. Speaking of speed and momentum, getting plenty of that in the wake of the Porsche is Mike Horder. And with that aid of a slipstream, he goes up into 4th position provisionally off the first qualifying times. Looking through it is Matthias Pentila, who is currently top of the timing sheets, ahead of James Holman. Nope, scratch that. It's Andrew Hopley for H Motorsport up onto the front row now.
Indeed, constant movements. I was just looking at Mike Horder's car because last week I think he was borrowing John Roberts' car because it was green, but now he's got the gorgeous metallic magenta on the back end of that car. It's usually the colour that Mike tends to run for the team. Arthur Thurtle, I think, had to back out of his previous fast lap there. He might have had a bit of traffic on him because he's 1.8 seconds off the fastest time. We've got Simon Povey making his way out onto the track in the Spontex CDM Esports unwrapped car. Dominic Brennan is also just making his way out there too. He pops up onto the circuit and the 2 cardboard machines head out on track to do their first laps. We've got a car off the road. It's Ben Chalcraft for Minardi Simsport. Ben, and is Nico in the session? Yes, he is. So we've got Minardi Simsport green, which is Mike Murphy. Funnily enough, he's the one that's sort of on his own here, and the other 2 drivers, Nico Minardi and Ben Chalcraft, are scoring team points for Minardi Simsport. And Mike was the one that finished the highest of them last week. It was a great, great drive by Mike. Awesome debut in the series, and he'll be over the moon with it. But you can see already we've got a very golden light here at Suzuka, haven't we, Ed? It's certainly going to get dark quickly.
It will do, and another thing to note about this circuit is just how long the laps are and just how little time is left in the session. And because it's a heat racing format, drivers don't have any chance to complete their laps once the checkered flag has fallen.
No, absolutely not. They have to make sure they time it perfectly. We've seen a few drivers in the past get caught out by the session ending early. In fact, last week, actually, Adam Watson cut it really fine with the final second, and that was before it was even the heat format, as Watson himself goes fastest. 2 minutes 8.893, and he is over a tenth of a second clear of Pentila. Jacob Money goes up into 7th place in the BMW. BMW is going well, actually, at the moment, but it's nice to see we've got all the different manufacturers up there. Highest McLaren at the moment is Ben Chalcraft for Minardi Simsport, who I just misclicked on. We wait for the 4 McLarens at the bottom of the order to set times. Mike Murphy, Nico Minardi, Simon Povey and Dominic Brennan. No offence to Ben, arguably they are the 5 fastest McLaren drivers out there. And we've also got Pete Thickett with us tonight. Niels Kaur goes top again. But look at the state of this thing, the Scuderia Chicken House machine. He said he was going to wear a garish livery on it, but he's made it glittery gold here for us this evening, Ed, in the gorgeous setting sunshine in Japan. I quite like it, you know. I was going to say all night that I didn't like it, and everybody else seems to not like it. I quite like how he's managed to make glittery spec map work, because it's not easy, that.
Bright red wheels as well. It's certainly one that you're not going to miss. It does, I'm not sure why, but it makes me think of a particular fast food chain for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe not so renowned for its chicken as Large Max, but there we go. Other fast food restaurants are, of course, available. They're probably a bit better, to be honest. Anyway, moving on. Niels Kaur, with that lap time, it's going to take some beating, you know. It's a very long lap, but 2/10 is a pretty significant gap, especially considering how close we've seen qualifying come down to at various other rounds in the SRM event sort of history, shall we say. On board with Dominic Brennan, who desperately needs to get a lap on board and won't be able to set another one for a good while after that off-track excursion. Just pushing a little bit too hard. The car does naturally drift out wide on that corner. You are on the throttle for quite a long time, and unfortunately, Light just didn't quite time it right enough to get the lap time on the board. And, well, you say that the daylight is vanishing as the sun begins to set, but so is the time on the clock for the drivers to set lap time. Simon Povey, we'll be watching him through that final sector as Arthur Thurtle comes across the line. 17th, needs to improve, but doesn't. Again, some big name drivers struggling to get times on the board.
Absolutely. Andy Hopley goes 4th fastest. He just improves. Taylor Adams and Jacob Money up there. Michael Seal puts his first qualifying lap in the championship on the board. Well done to him for moving up a bit further. Heinz Mayer across the line now, just out of the last corner. He's got Mark Johnson for company behind him as well. Do either of them improve? Yes, Johnson goes up to 12th place in the Aston Martin. And we still wait to see what Simon Povey can do. The cardboard machine boxing clever around the final corner. Through the Casio triangle, the shadows doing their things, and Simon's coming into the pits, which is an interesting move. Not quite sure what's gone on there, because he'll need at least 4 minutes, 16 seconds to start cracking on with it, really. Dominic Brennan's going to cross the line. Not sure if the lap will count because of his earlier excursion. No, he will carry on. Mike Murphy is the only car other than Simon Povey. Actually, Philip Hopley's not put a time in yet. He's got a couple more corners left to go, though, in this brutal sounding Mercedes. It's great, isn't it?
Sound really, really mean and angry and aggressive, and he takes a nice heavy hit over the curves but struggles a little bit to get the power down, and he comes into the bits as well. Philip Hopley struggling to get a time put through. Adam Watson, though, with a purple first and third sector, he is certainly a driver to keep your eyes on as he comes up towards the Casio triangle. Now we've got some cars up ahead. He will hope that that won't hamper and hold him up, turning in nice and early to hit the curb to open out the left hander. The final real corner is you then power out of the bend up to the line. What will it be for Adam Watson? It looked pretty good, and it is very nice indeed. Now he goes 2/10 faster at the top of the timing sheets. Niels Court settling for second place for now. Niels is currently on a flying lap. Whereabouts is he? Should be expecting him through at some stage. Yet coming up towards the Casio triangle now. What will his reply be? No improvements across any sector whatsoever, but he looks like he might just be gearing up for one now. You saw the line he took through the Casio triangle to get on the power as early as possible, carry the most momentum out of the corner, because it's a long run down towards turn 1. No mistakes allowed, though, because if that is to be the case, that's his qualifying over and done with. No chance to set any more times after this.
Gary Tall has just popped outside the top 10 at the moment in the Porsche. He was starting at the back in the pit lane at Fuji for the first round of the season, just to sort of get his confidence back up again and fight through. Unfortunately, his race was over after not very long with some contact. Dominic Brennan's done a good lap here by the look of it as well. James Holman moves up to 5th place in car number 5. Dom Brennan crosses the line and goes 8th fastest. Gary Tall now down to 14th position, and Mike Murphy, I've been told, is off the road. He's going to suddenly appear back in the pit lane. Simon Povey, with 2 minutes 42 seconds left on the clock, is now finally going to get a lap on the board. But this is going to be his one lap here, Ed. This is his only chance to get this sorted.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the final drivers to put a time in, which is going to help him in one respect, because the track is certainly cooling as the sun is setting, so he will have essentially the optimum track conditions for this lap. Not many other drivers will be able to squeeze a time through before he finishes this session. Adam Watson is looking like he's going to improve as well, just looking at the times on the bottom of your screen now. Matthias Bentila is also just up ahead and is going to come across the line to set his final one of qualifying. No, he doesn't. He comes into the pits. So that lap has been aborted. Adam Watson's final effort in qualifying. No improvement there. So now he just has the long 2-minute wait to stare at that timing sheet and hope that he has done enough, as everyone else is trying to dethrone him from that provisional pole position. His teammate Arthur Thurtle can't manage it. He stays 4th.
Yeah, Thurtle doing really well, though, to be up there in fourth. We've got Tim Perry in the YouTube chat. Good to see you, mate. Also, Thomas, Jakob, 11 tenths, and Sean Gardner as well. Tim Perry saying that he's teammates, actually, with Adam Watson in another GT4 series. And, yeah, Adam is an absolute star. He is rapid. I've raced with Adam for many, many years now, and I've commentated on him for a long time. Hopley goes fifth, but, yeah, Nils Core does not improve on the time. So that is very, very close. Nico Minardi hoping to improve. He's currently down in 20th place, and Ben Chalcraft is down in 19th. These guys were much higher up at Fuji. Kim Such moves up into 21st. Nico Minardi, no improvement. James Holman, sure to improve here. Dominic Brennan stood a purple sector 4. Holman goes up to 5th place. Dominic Brennan, 8th on the grid at the moment. Oh, did he hit the wall there? Did he kiss that wall? It looked a bit odd at my end.
He got away with it.
Yes, he did. 7th place, though, for him. And here comes Simon Povey, right at the death of the session. Is Simon going to do anything? He's got 2 green sectors, a purple final sector. And, oh, by 70 thousandths, Povey misses out on pole. But I tell you what, considering that's his only lap, he's going to be pretty happy with that one, because that was an absolute belter. Pete Thickett crosses the line in the golden McLaren. He improves. He's 16th, though. I don't think he gained an extra place from that one. No, he didn't. He did not go up another position from that previous lap that he did. And he now drifts it into the first couple of corners. No major improvements coming across the line. Tom Weston's making his way up to 130R. He's just behind Taylor Adams. Adam Watson is going to cross the line soon, but I think he's just having an in-lap, and that is it. That is literally how savage it is here in qualifying in heat racing. And the job is done. Ed, what do you reckon then for our first ever sprint race? Is there anyone that you've got your eyes on here?
Well, I think it's going to be something to see if Dominic Brennan can maybe improve on that qualifying performance. Obviously, he wasn't miles off the pace. It was very tight and contested, but I think seeing what his teammate was able to do, he's going to have some hope for the sprint race for sure.
Adam Watson starts on pole position then, ahead of Simon Povey. There's no points for pole position in this winter tour either, so unlike the usual GT4 series, you're not going to see any points for that. Nils Core, championship leader and race 1 winner, is third, ahead of Matthias Pentila. Then we have Arthur Thurtle and James Holman, a very fast third row that is. Andy Hopley and Dominic Brennan make up an interesting row 4, ahead of Mike Horder and Taylor Adams, who rounds out your top 10. Tom Weston continues an impressive campaign of pace in 11th position, ahead of Andre Mayerek in car number 4. The sun literally just set there in the background. That's how dark it's going to be here. Jacob Money is 13th with Mike Murphy 14th. Then it's Gary Tall and Pete Thickett, ahead of Mark Johnson and Michael Seal, 18th on his debut qualifying. Ralph Mayer is next up in 19th with Ben Chalcraft in 20th, Nico Minardi 21st and Kim Such in 22nd. Then we have Toby Johns in 23rd place and Heinz Mayer in 24th. And at the back of the grid in 25th place after not setting a time, we have Philip Hopley for Waterside Gym Esports. Beautiful scene there as the sun sets in the background. It's the land of the rising sun, Japan, but right now it's the land of the setting sun here at Suzuka. And well, I'm super excited for this one, Ed. We've got an amazing grid. I mean, when you look at the drivers and, you know, the quality of the field, and there's drivers like Tom Weston and Taylor Adams sort of together on the exit of the top 10. They've both been really, really quick. And to see them that far down is just, well, I mean, it's just mad to think that we've got such great quality filling the first, half of the field? I mean, Mike Murphy, he's 14th on the grid here after being right up there in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. And same we said for Andrew Hopley, a driver that was in contention for season 1 as well, right up there with me battling Simon Povey. The fact of the matter is he's not far off of Simon's pace, but because of how tight congested the field is, there's a good sort of 5 odd cars in between him and one of his main rivals from season 1. Here we go though, Chaz. The first sprint race is about to get underway, and yet again it's an Altitude Esports car about to set the pace as the lights go green.
For the first time ever in Sim Racing Magazine's history, we get underway for sprint racing here in the GT4 Winter Tour. Round 2 of the championship from Suzuka is go. Headlights ablaze. Everybody heads down towards the start-finish line. And it is Adam Watson that leads the way. Simon Povey with him. Niles Core in there as well. Matthias Pentila is side-by-side with Arthur Thurtle, who wants to send it up the inside into turn 1. Is everybody behaving themselves in the midfield? It certainly looks like it. Michael Seal makes his debut corners with Pete Thickett actually just behind him. Pete's doing literally his first corners of the campaign here as well, side by side with Mike Horder and other magenta enthusiast Taylor Adams in front of him. But clean start there by Adam Watson actually, Ed. He didn't really have to do much to keep Simon Povey at bay. He chose to go at the right moment, and now he's going to be praying that Nils Core and the co behind start to fight.
Yeah, he's going to be hoping for it. And now we get to see Simon Povey essentially unleashed, not having to do any coy strategies. We get to see him basically at full chat, where we know he is at his most prolific. He's so smart around racing and around sort of timing his moves to perfection. We'll see what Adam Watson will be able to do to try and keep Simon at bay, because he knows that there isn't really a whole lot of games we can ship a whole lot of saving fuel that needs to be done. It's just flat out racing as you get through into Spoon Curve. They look like a little move up the inside. Was that James Holman and Arthur Thurtle battling away? It looked like it was. James Holman tried to go through on the inside, but Arthur's run out of the corner was enough to hang on to that 5th position. But James is going to try and fight him all the way back up towards the next corners. Get them all streaking by. Battle for 15th is going to be interesting as well, because that is of course the reverse grid. Pole position as Heinz Meyer just rear end snaps on him, and that's just the typical nature of the Porsche oversteer, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately the rear engined manner of it just overtook itself there, I'm afraid. Arthur Thurtle and James Holman, 2 of the fastest drivers we've had on our screens in Sim Racing Magazine history, right together. As a move down the inside by Nils Kor, throws the BMW up the inside of the McLaren of Simon Povey. There's contact and Povey's around and facing the wrong way. Oh, dearie me. He's not going to have unwrapped that one with much of a smile on his face. He gets back underway, but he's going to be right at the back of the field, and that means that Matthias Penteler has gone up into 2nd position ahead of those guys, and Arthur Thurtle senses an opportunity down the inside of Nils Kor. Is he going to try and send it to turn 1? He's not. James Holman and Dominic Brennan still fighting there as well. Andy Hopley, I think, was just a bit deep into the corner there, but he turns it into an overtaking manoeuvre in the BMW. Side by side, though, and Dominic comes over to the right-hand side. I think there was a bit of netcode in there that unsettled Andy's car. There's a lot of shuffling around. You can feel that it's a lot more of a frantic-natured race than what we usually see, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, that was so tricky. On sort of the tyres still not fully up to temperature, I think, going into the Casio Triangle the first time of asking. It might have just been a case of misjudging the space on the inside. Looks like, I'm not sure, I mean, by the looks of things, Nils Kor is completely over onto the curb. I'm not sure if Simon Povey just didn't leave enough of a room potential. Maybe he was just caught off guard. It looked like Nils Kor had a bit of an overlap going into the braking zone, but it's so easily just misjudged at these high speeds, especially on the opening lap of racing. So while Simon Povey's race may have become unwrapped and unravelled, oh dear, there's a huge incident in the Spoon Curve. What's going on here?
For Mark Johnson, Mike Murphy, Tom Weston, all of them involved in this one. I was just going to quickly go back and look at this, actually. Ralph Mayer also going off. It's the 2 Mayers that have both spun the Porsche at the first couple of corners of the lap. And then it was Tom Weston and Mike Murphy that came together initially. Mike looks down the inside. Just nerfs him a little bit. And then, the guys just pile into each other. Mark Johnson got very unlucky there. They all move and separate nicely. There was a little bit of contact as Mark Johnson regained the place, and I think it was Philip Hopley got a bit of a tap, but nothing too untoward there. I think Mike Murphy was a bit hesitant to put his nose down the inside. Then all of a sudden, when it was there, Tom Weston had decided that it wasn't going to be there and he was going to turn in. And Nico Minardi, by the way, did a purple first sector on this lap, so the Minardi Simsport driver is flying after not a fantastic qualifying. He's gained 6 places. Biggest mover in the field is actually a newcomer to the entire community as well. Toby Johns, TAJ Racing. He's gained 7 spots so far, so nicely done, Toby.
Yeah, nicely done all around. It's been, barring a few little incidents here and there, relatively clean. Just Pentila closing in on Adam Watson. Second the fastest lap of the race so far as the Finnish driver, so certainly on a mission. All the while, Nils Kor is waiting in the wings. We've seen him from this position snag a race victory before. He was 3rd for most of the opening race of the season. Actually, wasn't he, Chaz, in behind Simon Povey in 2nd place by this time, and obviously it was a strategy call that worked in Nils' favour. It now has to be just pure race pace that will have to take him over the line.
I love watching this with headlights ablaze as well. There's so much going on, isn't there? All the light rays bouncing around off one another. So many battles to look at as well. Michael Seals moved up 6 places so far into 12th position. Don't forget that the car in 15th is the one that will end up on pole position for race 2. That's currently Nico Minardi, who we mentioned a moment ago. He's not going to be thinking about that, though, because it's not really pole positions in second races that earn you prizes, is it? Points mean prizes. And in this set of sprint races, you get less points for winning a race here, because you get 20 for winning one of the endurance rounds, then it's 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, and then so on. But here, there's literally 1 point extra per position. So we may see drivers taking a bit more of a chilled approach to it, mightn't we, Ed? Because they know that there might not be much point in gaining that extra spot over somebody.
Might not be, but of course, when we get later on in the season, those drivers will fight hard for each and every point, because that can make all the difference in these championships. Pete Thickett, I mean, we've seen numerous championships, even actually in recent memory, where positions have been decided by just a single point here and there. I mean, how close was the championship last season? It was, I think, a matter of only 3-4 points, wasn't it, that decided the championship? So you never know. Some drivers might try and grab those extra points, especially if it means taking points away from some of their rivals in the process.
And that's what they've got to think about. So many things to think about, but look at the way that the light beams are moving around here, all the headlights on the circuit. I wish that we'd kept the blimp camera, actually, just to see if it works. I'm pretty sure it's not. Oh god, we've got some of the ugly scenery at the back there, but you can see just how dark it is here at Suzuka now. It's very grey and twilighty, so we're certainly going to be racing in the dark by the end of the night. This race may still have a tiny bit of daylight left come the end, but I think we're going to get a really spicy second race, because there's not really much floodlight in here at Suzuka either, so I think the drivers are going to have their wits about them. You can always say that, you know, in the real world, driving at night is a completely different kettle of fish, but to be honest, in the sim as well, where you've not actually got any of the sort of same peripheral vision, it really is difficult, isn't it, to race at night?
So tricky. It's all about the muscle memory, really, because a lot of the braking markers become a lot harder to spot during the night. Sort of some of the furniture you can use on the side of the circuit to help judge your braking points, it becomes a little bit more vague, a little bit harder, and all the while, if you're in a battle with another car, trying to find those markers becomes even more tricky and difficult when you're trying to keep your eyes on what's going around behind or in front of you. But so far, Watson's got no one in front to worry about. Instead, cars behind, or Matthias Bentgiller, Niels Core as well in the mix. But for now, Adam Watson looks to be rather comfortable at this stage of the race. Now, the Aston Martin needs to think about how it will manage the tyres over the course of the race. It does seem to be quite strong later on. Then again, we've said that about the Mercedes and the BMWs as well.
Yeah, there's certainly some strengths and weaknesses in the GT4 fields. That's why we love watching this category of racing on its own as well, not as a sort of secondary category to GT3 cars, but just having just GT4 cars on their own is so exciting. The GT4 European Series that travels around with SRO is just a marvel to watch. I was lucky enough, while commentating on Clio Cup Europe, to be at Nogaro in France and see the FFSA GT4 Series, which is the French GT4 National Championship, basically. And there was a massive field of cars. It was amazing. There was a good 8 or 9 different manufacturers involved as well, and it was some of the best racing I've ever watched. And it's great to see that even with the 5 manufacturers that we've got here on iRacing, these guys can still produce more of the same. But when the racing does chill out for a little bit in the sort of middle stint of the race, we've always got that speculation. We've always got that intrigue over what car is going to be strong and where, and at what circuits as well, because I reckon the second race tonight, as it gets cooler and cooler, we may see different cars rise to the fore here.
Definitely, and I think the Aston might be one that does really relish the colder temperatures and things like that. We didn't see it too often last season,
no,
because we actually saw it in hotter track conditions where the Porsche was certainly one of the more dominant cars, wasn't it? We saw that really having some marvellous races, whereas the McLarens certainly struggled with the higher temps. So again, it's going to be intriguing to see how everything balances out and changes over the course of the evening. Oh no, what's happened to Andrew Hopley? He's had a bit of a moment, or was he maybe tagged a little? It's a strange place to lose the car, especially the BMW that seems to be so stable through the corners.
I'm wondering, AstroTurf? Oh, yeah, AstroTurf.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a long slide as well, actually, for Andy Hopley. Let's go back to it again. There. Just clips the AstroTurf that tiny bit. If I had a pound for every time I've seen people do that. Unfortunately as well, Michael Seal has had an off after this. We're going to stick with this because it's happened not long after the replay started. But Seal's had a drama. Tom Weston lost a place because of this as well. Whatever's happened here. This is his debut in the championship as well. He's not going to have an incident at 130R, is he? It's easy to hit the Astro here. Whoa, he's completely on the grass. He's going to understeer wide, then hit the Astro. Yeah, he's just clipped the curb, and I think the tyre's already affected by hitting the grass earlier. But to be honest there, Ed, I mean, he's very lucky in terms of where the car went off, but he's very lucky he didn't come back on as Hopley back on the grass again.
Yeah, that was seemingly all 4 wheels off on the grass there. I'm not sure if it was maybe like a stutter or something, like the screen froze and suddenly the car tried to keep it on the road and it just drifted out wide, but that looked like it was just the car understeered a lot more than Michael was expecting, and then as soon as it dips a wheel off of that curb, it's to the rear right. I think in both scenarios that just sort of, after getting off the exit curb, it sort of has a bit of a trough that they tend to use more for drainage than anything else.
Yeah.
But as soon as the wheel dips onto that, it completely changes the handling of the car. The suspension sort of, I guess, decompresses. That causes all the other wheels to sort of tense up, and then it gets sent into a spin on that wheel on the exit. It's trying to put the power down, has no grip. All the other wheels start to just lose grip in sympathy, essentially, and then no amount of traction control will be helping you there.
Absolutely not. We've got a beautiful view back here from Matthias Pentila in the RD Sim Sport Mercedes AMG GT4. 3 different manufacturers on the podium at the moment: Aston Martin, Mercedes and BMW. We've also got a McLaren in the top 10, but we don't have any Porsches up there at the moment. It's Gary Toll that is flying the flag for the Porsches. Kim Such is in 16th at the moment, and would you look at that as well, in 15th place between them, Toby Johns at the moment for TAJ Racing. Could Toby, in his what would be his 4th ever race in Sim Racing Magazine community, get a reverse grid pole position? That would be an interesting thing to see how he copes with that one, because at the end of the day, Toby, he's only a young lad and he's still quite new to sim racing, but he's really proven himself so far. And he's racing with some of these guys that have been doing it for quite a while now, and he's been very impressive, very consistent. He's made the odd mistake here and there, but then again, we all do. Humans make mistakes, and it's been really impressive to see his debuts. Now, I think Niels Corey is getting closer and closer here to Pentila. I think that he's sort of fed up with the Finn in front of him now, and he's expecting that he can get through and go chasing after our race leader, Adam Watson. What do you reckon?
It could be, but it could also just be about the mid-race conservation of Pentila as well, just saving the tyres for later on while keeping that gap respectable. It's still only, well, less than 1.5 seconds, so it's within the realm possibility that Matthias can just close back up into this battle as 2 Minardi cars getting very close to one another. Mike Murphy and Ben Chalcroft nearly touching as they come through these wonderful sweeping corners one after the other. It's a little bit scary there for the pair of them. We'll have a look at it. Oh, it's into turn 1.
This is how it all started. So Kim Such and Ben Chalcraft were right together, and then I think there was a bit of contact on the exit of here, maybe. Mike Murphy wanted to try it down the inside. Oh, goodness me. It's all so close. And I think the 2 teammates... it was Mike Murphy's car that had damage. I did wonder. I thought one of them's got a bit of damage on the right rear corner. I thought, where the heck has that come from? But it's Mike Murphy that carries the damage. It's still close for 2nd place, and we're about to get to the halfway point of the race here, Ed. Half-hour sprint races, and this has been great entertainment so far. We're not really speculating about strategy. This is just out-and-out sprint racing. I love it.
Yes, it is. Obviously, like you say, Niels got very close to the rear bumper of the Mercedes out ahead, but can't afford to get caught up in a long, drawn-out fight, because if he does, then all of a sudden Adam Watson will just use that opportunity to disappear off into the sunset, quite literally into the sunset as well. As you can see, the track is getting a little bit darker out there. The light is certainly fading fast. Track temperatures as well starting to drop just down to 24 degrees C. Ambient air temp still up to 23 though.
Yeah, it's quite muggy over there, and I'm not quite sure that's the right barometric pressure. 3,473,000 hectopascals. That is definitely not sort of a 4-digit Q&H code if you want to get IFR clearance to fly anywhere. But it's certainly entertaining at the moment. A big shout, by the way, to our championship sponsors here on Sim Racing Magazine, Oris Digital, Crockery Direct and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. And thank you to the boss man himself, Andy Marston, at Sim Racing Magazine for his support and obviously his blessing to do all of this under the Sim Racing Magazine banner. It's great to work with Andy, and he really does appreciate all the work that goes into this as well. He's a lovely bloke, and he retired recently as well, so congratulations, Andy. We hope you enjoy your retirement, my friend. Means you can do more sim racing, absolutely. So we're at the halfway point now, and Adam Watson, well, he's reigned supreme so far, to be fair, Ed. Of course, he was helped out a bit by the contact behind between Nils Kaur and Simon Povey. Simon has recovered-ish. He's 24th at the moment outright, but he's not really flying back up through the order yet. He's still got a long way to go. And if I'm honest, it's all but helped Adam Watson out. He needs to be careful with that, though, doesn't he? Because that was really wide over the Astro there, flipping heck.
Yeah, it's weird. You can have a bigger mistake through those corners, run really wide off the Astro, and not get punished by drivers who run just a little bit wide and hit the curve at the wrong point. It's a bit frustrating, really, because you only make the smallest mistake and are punished more from drivers that just fully understeer out wide. Arthur Thurtle here, quite happy, I think, just to sit behind and let these two up ahead battle away. He's in quite a nice position as well. Can help out his teammate, who's trying to streak away. Altitude Esports, of course, not quite leading the Teams Championship. That honour, I think, goes to the Spontex CDM Esports drivers. But, of course, after the first race of the evening with Simon Povey's, well, rotten luck, he might be climbing up the order as Ben Chalcraft. He's had a bit of a moment. Is that the same corner?
That's 130R.
That's 130R.
Mark Johnson next to him. Mark's still on the inside, and Ben gets a tap through there. Mark didn't want to give the place up, and I mean, at the end of the day, he's entitled to put his nose there if he wants to, but I think Ben expected him to back out of that one. I think a lot of people would expect you to back out of that one, but in this case, no. Fastest lap of the race last time around by Arthur Thurtle, by the way, so he is really on a mission.
Yeah, and he's piling pressure onto Nils Kaur, who's having to look in his rearview mirror as much as he's looking out of the windshield at the back of Pentila's car as Mike Murphy. Oh dear, Minardi Simsport dropping like flies at the moment. What on earth is going on here? He's going up the inside, and that's Toby Johns, and then it's just again coming together up into the apex. That was Toby Johns, just, you know, on the apex. He can't really just vanish, but I think through there it's difficult to obviously judge.
Yeah.
When you've got consecutive corners one after the other, the lines can get crossed, and I think that was just what we saw there.
Arthur Thurtle right up behind the BMW now. It's a great sight with it lit up by the headlights of the Aston Martin, especially with that gorgeous spec map and livery on it as well. But yeah, not a great couple of moments for Minardi Simsport there. Nico's going well. He's the biggest mover in the field, actually. He's gained 9 places to move up into 12th. What a great drive that is by Nico Minardi from 21st on the grid up inside the top 15, and he'll be right near the front of the grid for the second race. As down the inside, Arthur Thurtle sends it on Nils Kaur. That's going to separate them from the car ahead of them of Pentila. Doesn't really work out for him, though. He gets a big wobble on the exit of the corner, and James Holman's now going to be in the slipstream to try and take a piece of this. James has got 2 seconds back from him to Dominic Brennan, so he could maybe have a go here and not worry so much about having a go. Taylor Adams and Jacob Money and Andre Mayorak in the top 10 as well, by the way. They're all having sort of lonely races at the moment. Mayorak is holding station behind Jacob Money, but in the background we have our highest mover in the field so far, Nico Minardi, 12th place at the moment, I should say. Pete Thickett going well, started 16th. He's moved up inside the top 15. Gary Toll would currently start second on the grid for the second race if he finishes where he is. And Toby Johns, well, he's 15th, but he's got the rabble behind him, hoping to take that championship point, that final championship point, but also pole position in race 2. He's got Mark Johnson, Kim Such and Tom Weston in there. Tom had an off earlier on, of course, with Mark, so he's going to be open to recover and get back inside the top 15 and maybe see what he can do from pole.
Maybe, indeed. Of course, there's still a long way to go in the race before we can start thinking about who's on that pole position reverse grid spot. There's still a little ways to go before we can think about who's going to be on the podium. It looks like Adam Watson is in a favourable position to take the race victory here. About 2 seconds clear of Ventila in second place, but Niels Kort, he's still up there with him. The car just seems to snap one way, then snap the other, and Michael Seale's just essentially a passenger at that point, no amount of gravel, even though it's improved on iRacing and is going to slow down a car at that speed heading to the tyre barriers.
I ought to raise a point here, Ed, sorry, but Simon Povey has recovered to 19th place. Now, 15th place, which is reverse grid Prol, is only 2.6 seconds ahead of him. So Simon could benefit here from the reverse grid situation if he continues on the pace that he's on. So again, he could play the game, play the format of the night. He's currently behind Ralph Meyer, and he's currently on a move. Toby John's under pressure from Mark Johnson as well, just in front. Is Mark going to go back down the inside of 130R again? There's not many drivers make that work, and not many drivers go for that, but Mark was down the inside of Ben earlier after a bit of slipstream, I believe. Now he's going to look to the inside into the chicane. Toby onto the brakes. The Aston Martin also onto the brakes a little bit later than him. Behind him as well, Kim Such had to slam on the brakes to not hit the pair of them. And Povey, just behind them, is now ahead of Ralph. So Simon's on the move here, Ed, and I think he's actually going to benefit from this in a weird way.
Definitely, he's certainly a favourite if he gets that reverse grid pole position to win the second race of the evening. But he would have much rather have finished higher in this race, I think that's for certain. Just got to see, of course, how the evening progresses. Running a little bit wide, though, of the mark through turn 1. Not ideal in his pursuit of reverse grid pole position. 15th place. As we were talking about Adam Watson's lead, it's certainly come down a decent margin, hasn't it, as Matthias has closed that gap down to Adam out in the lead of the race. Not sure if that might be down just to a mistake potentially from Adam, or if
it must have been
Matthias has really picked up the pace at this late stage, going on for a bit of a charge.
It must have been on the lap before, because on the previous lap they almost did identical lap times, 2:09.0.
It might have been on this lap, to be honest. It might have been earlier on this lap.
I'm so stupid sometimes, aren't I? But yes, it very may well have been at the start of this lap for Adam Watson. So maybe a little bit of pressure, like you say, the late charge, bit of fatigue as the conditions change, because this is one of the more rapidly developing set of conditions you'll get as the circuit cools down loads. You can sometimes overdrive the car because suddenly there's a lot more grip than there was when you were racing it when it was hot, and the Japanese tarmac is notoriously slippy and it's very muggy in Japan, so you do get very humid, hot, slimy conditions. This is the battle for 15th still, by the way. It's still going on. Toby Johns is just holding on ahead of Mark Johnson, Kim Such and Simon Povey. This is another thing that keeps us interested now, because it's going to be so exciting to see how people battle for this 15th place over the course of the night, over the season, isn't it?
Yes, actually, I think that was more down to Matthias picking up the pace more than Watson making a mistake, because that last lap by Matthias was their fastest lap of the race so far, and also actually I think joint fastest. Actually, no, not quite joint fastest. That honour is going currently to Arthur Thurtle, but still very quick pace being brought now by Matthias at this late stage of the race.
It's great to see it.
And that gap has come down now to less than a second. It's really hotting up now. We thought that Adam Watson might have had this secured. Maybe Adam Watson thought that it was secured, seeing the gap rise to above 2 seconds, but a late charge really turning the race upside down. Maybe what I said earlier might be the case, that Matthias has just been saving the tyres, conserving the pace, and then letting it all out right at the death.
It's great to watch. Certainly intriguing towards the end of the race. It's not a done deal, this. Mercedes being very quick indeed. It's a shame not to have Guy Edwards with us this evening as well, another one of the RD SimSport drivers. He's racing in the BMW M4 this season. Did a great job in it at Fuji as well, as, whoa, I'll tell you what, Niels Kort is using all of the road round Spoon Curve there, certainly running the car out wide. We need to go back to this 15th place battle as well, once again, because Simon Povey is trying it on Mark Johnson now. The McLaren looking down the inside of the Aston Martin, who's gone late on the brakes. I think he was a bit unsettled by Simon trying to have a go, and it's all checked up behind. Oh dear, that was a little bit messy. I think Simon got very close to the back of Mark. Mark went to brake late, so he didn't get hit, and he sort of got a bit put off by it. He went into the back of Toby, and I think Toby Johns was really lucky there not to actually get spun around. And then Simon was out of gear and out of sorts for the exit, and he needs to make it work again as Jacob Money's into the barrier hard there, Ed.
Very hard there. That was... I thought for a moment he was going to bounce off the wall and collect wherever it was that was right there with him. Again, it's that corner. This time it wasn't actually just dipping a wheel off the Astro, it was just the actual exit curve itself.
Does a good job.
Thankfully, it seems to be fairly sturdy. Obviously, a bit damaged onto the front of the car, but it looks like it could still carry on.
Oh, I don't know. I think part of the tyre just floated off the edge of the curb, you know. I think there was just a little bit of it that eked its way out there. But yeah, Jacob Money's carried on. He's not actually lost a massive amount of places from that somehow. Obviously in the real world that would be a colossal accident, maybe even a red flag, but he's managed to carry on, bless him, as the moves keep coming a bit further down. But this battle near the front, I mean, it's beautiful. It looks fantastic in this lighting, but it's also very, very intriguing because we've got Arthur Thurtle here hoping to catch up with Niels Kaur and Matthias Pentila, but Matthias is just doing what he needs to do to catch our race leader as well, so we'll have to see what they can do. It's lovely to see the orange hue in the sky still as well, just off in the distance as the sun sets at Suzuka. It gives me great, great excitement for the second race of the night, which will be completely under lights.
There is certainly getting there. We are thoroughly into the twilight stages of the evening. And now we're into the closing stages of the race here as well. I think we're going to have just one more lap. And it could be very decisive for the podium because look at how close Niels Kaur is now to that Mercedes up ahead. Through 130 they go. He needs to go run maybe too far back to send a move up the inside the Casio triangle. This Mercedes seems very strong through this particular bit of the circuit as well. Just put the power down nicely. But maybe not out of the woods yet. Niels Kaur, if he gets a nice little run, bit of slipstream, could try a cheeky move up the inside of turn one. Yeah, a little bit. Trying to master the dark arts. All the while, Adam Watson doesn't need to worry about too much of that. As out now, this is for the reverse grid pole position. And you were right, you know, Chaz. It's all right around the outside. Is Simon Povey going to be able to just about hang on? That was incredibly close. Toby Johns kept it going as well. And Simon Povey, he's going to struggle now. Lost a bit of pace. But thankfully for his race, can hang on to that 15th place and the reverse grid pole position. Provisionally now all his. But that was so close to catastrophe through 130. The two cars leaning on each other on the exit. How both of them managed to end up, well, not in a wall was a miracle, I think. Yes, that will certainly help out Simon. That reverse grid pole position certainly makes him the favourite to win the second race of the evening, even if his first didn't quite go to plan. But what a race that was from Adam Watson. Complete control from start to finish. And Matthias Bentila, great job to hold off the charge of Niels Kor, because Niels certainly had a lot of pace, just couldn't quite find the way through.
Yeah, I just want to apologise, everybody. The last sort of maybe 10 minutes or so of that race, my microphone had seemingly, everything had muted itself on my stream deck, which is where I control all of my audio. So I'm really sorry if you hadn't heard me for a while there. And yeah, I'm afraid that the race finished without my commentary, but a fantastic win indeed that for Adam Watson. Really well held on until the end. Matthias Bentila in second place ahead of Niels Kor in third. Arthur Thurtle in fourth place, James Holman in fifth, Dominic Brennan sixth with Mike Horder in seventh, then Taylor Adams, Andrew Hopley and Andre Mayerek. Behind them we then had Jacob Money in 11th, Nico Minardi in 12th, Pete Thickett 13th, Gary Tall 14th with Simon Povey, who will take reverse grid pole position. Important that one for Simon, because he, like I just said while I was muted, he wouldn't have been aiming for 15th place, but he'll be very happy to have received that one. Tom Weston 16th, Toby John 17th after his off, with Ralph and Heinz Mayer right together yet again, Ed. Then we have Ben Chalcraft and Kim Such 20th and 21st. And then the cars that were one lap down or more were Mark Johnson, Philip Hopley, Michael Seal and Mike Murphy. I believe that was the entire field. Yes, all 25 cars on there. So our first sprint race is done, Ed. Great entertainment, I think. It certainly looked like it was a very, very entertaining race for all drivers involved.
Yes, it was, and they have to wait just a little while longer before the next one comes around. They have a 10-minute warm-up to get acclimatised to the, well, darker and cooler conditions out on the circuit. You can see someone's taking his way out to the circuit. That is Mike Murphy. I think, Chaz, we have a little break, don't we, as we wait between the two races, just to refresh ourselves, get some drink in our systems to bring you all of the action of the second race of the evening, which will have, of course, Simon Povey out on pole position.
Yes, it absolutely will. And we're going to be racing under lights here for the first time in a long time here on Sim Racing Magazine. So enjoy the warm-up session for just a few moments, everybody. The cameras will flick around a little bit for us, but then we will be back in about 5 minutes time. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here on Chaz Draycott Media for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour. See you in a few. Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour here from Suzuka. This is rounds 2 and 3 of this little championship that we're having in the winter off-season, using it as a test bed for many things to come in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, which of course you'll see on your screens in a few months' time when we come back for the 4th running of said series. It's definitely been a long time coming that we return to the championship again, but it's been great fun so far this evening, and of course it's going to be nice and dark for the second race of the night. The headlights are on, the cars are out in warm-up at the moment, getting used to the conditions, and Ed, we're going to have a nightmare identifying who is who, but it's certainly going to be an exciting race, isn't it? Half an hour under lights here at Suzuka.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a nightmare trying to figure out who's who. I don't know what the driver's going to think, because actually I don't think there's actually floodlights around in the circuit, is it? It's just the headlights of the drivers that will be lighting their way. So that could add an extra element of jeopardy for everyone out. You can see the headlights are, the floodlights are at least present at some areas of the circuit, but maybe they've just forgot to pay the electric bill or something.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it, doesn't it? There's definitely floodlights all around, but yeah, they're not switched on here in iRacing, unfortunately, so I'll have to tell Drew to put a couple of cents in the meter and get that back on. But it does look great when you've got a bunch of cars all together on the circuit and they all light each other up. You know, they light up the liveries of one another. You can still sort of see the liveries anyway and tell who is who, so we've got a lot to look at, despite it being completely pitch black darkness. But I think the drivers are going to be really focused here, so it's going to be another different element that we're going to be excited to see. Of course, reverse grid puts this man on pole position. Simon Povey, one of the quickest guys in the series. Definitely, I'd say favourite for the win here, but you need to wait and see what some of the guys behind him can do, because you never know, do you, Ed?
Yeah, you really don't have, obviously, everything wrapped up just yet, even though Simon Povey is certainly a favourite for the second race here, being on pole position. It's not the be-all and end-all, and there's still some scope for things to maybe go slightly awry. I mean, how many times do we see drivers have unforced errors? Some very good drivers as well make little mistakes just by running a little bit too wide at points and the curbs proving deadly as ever. I wonder if in the night time they'll become even harder to manage and judge.
So here we go then, ex-teammates as well, still stablemates, Simon Povey and Gary Tall on the front row, Pete Thickett and Nico Minardi. Great run by Nico in that first race, he starts from 4th. Then we have Jacob Money alongside Andre Mayerek, then Andrew Hopley and Taylor Adams. Mike Horder is 9th with Dominic Brennan completing the top 10. Following them is James Holman and Arthur Thurtle on row 6. Niels Kaur and Matthias Pentila are on the 7th row with Adam Watson 15th. Then it's Tom Weston behind him in 16th place, Toby Johns and Ralph Mayer on row 9, Heinz Mayer and Ben Chalcraft round out U20, with Kim Such and Mark Johnson next up. Philip Hopley is 23rd, Michael Seal is 24th, and at the back of the grid in 25th, it is Mike Murphy, hoping to recover from his earlier dramatic race. But the lights are on, not on the safety car actually at this point, Ed, so maybe the safety car driver could do with some light from the cars behind. Still, I'm really excited for this one. What main challenge do you think it's going to be for the drivers here in the dark? Is it just going to be down to visibility?
Well, I think it's just down to visibility. It's more just, there's something different about racing at night. It could be the track temperature. It's just sometimes the atmosphere as well. The visibility, as you can see from Simon's point of view, with all the cars in behind him, isn't that bad. But I think it's just a mental thing for a lot of the drivers, just to, obviously, there's a slight break from the normality of what they might be used to. So we'll see if the drivers can cope with that. I'm fairly certain Simon, with all the experience, should be able to manage, but maybe in that mid-pack it might be a little bit more spicy.
And here we go, round 4. Sorry, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Round 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour gets underway here from Suzuka. And this half-hour race ticks over now as they cross the line, and it's Simon Povey ahead of Pete Thickett, who's got the better of Gary Tall going into turn 1. It's headlights and silhouettes down into the first couple of corners. Everybody trying to behave themselves. It's a scary moment though, because some of the faster drivers from the first race are coming up behind drivers that might be braking a little bit earlier. They might be getting on the throttle a little bit later, not carrying the same speed as Thurtle is around. Thurtle turns across the front of the BMW of Niels Kaur, and a driver that is surely one of the championship protagonists is turned around corners into the race there, Ed. And again, It's another driver across the front of the BMW. Minardi's off now.
Andrew Watson nearly had a bit of a moment there. Actually, I'm not sure if that was Andrew Watson or it might have been actually. Might have been Adam Watson actually, who had a bit of a moment, you know. He was just going side by side with Niels Core and had a bit of a snap, but he's actually now trying to get the better of Dominic Brennan to no avail. Dominic should be trying to cover off the inside. He does, but not soon enough. Adam finds a gap, but actually can Dominic around the outside get the power down nice and early and defend that position? Again, there's that little wiggle from the Aston Martin. It might be reacting a little bit to potential netcode, but
yeah,
you can just see it's a little bit unsteady at this early stage of the race. Now again, looking up the inside to try and muscle his way past Dominic Brennan, which he does. That was certainly a little bit more stressful than I think Adam Watson was hoping for. Meanwhile, out in front, Simon Povey leads from Pete Tickett. Gary Tall drops one place down into third. And we have Jacob Money and Andrew Hopley, the two BMWs, trying to get up into the podium places. Andrew Hopley was another driver that was caught out by the curbs and was certainly destined for something a little bit greater.
Oh no!
His finishing position. Oh, there was a little bit of contact, I think, there. Oh dear. Toby Johns has taken out and needs to be careful on the rejoin, and I'm not sure if he's careful enough because that seems like Philip Hopley has been taking out of the action. Simon Povey there with a blistering lap time. That's the fastest lap we've seen all evening. We'll have a look at Toby Johns' moment here. He's trying to get out of harm's way, and then he just seems to get up to racing speed a little bit too quickly. He could have done with a little bit more patience there, I think.
I mean, inexperience indeed, but he was a little bit late even getting on the brakes. Amazing avoidance by those behind, but then, yeah, tried to roll the car forward and he hit Mike Murphy in that as well. Mike still made the corner, but Philip Hopley definitely coming off worse there. You're absolutely right, though. A 2:06.95 by Simon Povey is rapid stuff at the start of the race. He will be over the moon with that one. As, oh no, James Holman. James Holman's backwards now in the Aston Martin. He's facing the wrong way. That must be terrifying with headlights coming towards you like that.
It's so tricky because there's no real way you can rejoin safely until everyone else has gone past. Find that break in the traffic, turn it around and just get back up to racing speed. Like you say, see if you can find a way into the top 15 again. Was he turned around there by
Adam Watson?
I think that might have been Adam Watson. We'll have a look and see. It was difficult from that angle if maybe there was more space up the inside that Adam could have gone to. I think Adam's had his own little moment after the fact because he's now behind Niels Core.
Yeah, Niels Core and Adam Watson then battling into the hairpin, it seems.
Blinking a lot from Niels. I think there might have been something that happened earlier there, or maybe it was just a result of the contact between Watson and Holman.
No, it's just this by the look of it. I think
just this.
Neil's car blinking around a lot. And
I could have sworn Watson was ahead of Dominic Brennan though as well. He managed to get ahead, didn't he, coming on the run towards 130R. So I think there might have been just partly to do with the contact. We'll see if we can find, if we can, have a look at the incident between James Holman and, I mean, it was, and from that angle it looks like maybe it was just one of them racing incidents in the night time. And then actually trying to get back onto the racing line, he nearly takes out Niels Core.
Yeah,
Deary me, the darkness is certainly making it difficult, I think, for the drivers to judge distance to one another as Andrew Hopley's darting around to the inside, looking for a way through on Jacob Money. He's so close to contact. Thought that was going to end in tears, but deary me, everyone's just pushing a little bit harder, and it seems like the red mist might be descending in the night.
Yeah, I've always described Adam Watson as a flamboyant driver. He seemed to get in a few incidents every so often when I used to watch him in other series. There's another car around, more contact involved. And
Michael Seal, isn't it?
Mark
Johnson and Mike Murphy.
Mark Johnson's another one that's been in the wars this evening as well. There's a few drivers that just in this, I'm not sure whether it's the format or what, but normally not. I mean, Mark Johnson's usually a very clean driver and usually one that sort of avoids a lot of the dramas. He's often a bit unlucky here and there with incidents, but yeah, unfortunately there's been a few very unnecessary incidents here this evening, and a few drivers are repeat offenders of that, I'm afraid. But these things do happen sometimes, and it does give you a bit of a sense of panic when you're racing in the dark sometimes, doesn't it? There's Adam Watson and Niels Core again right together. Adam all over the back of that BMW. And yeah, Adam Watson's nickname is Nuclear Warhead for a reason, Tim Perry says. I was in the Altitude Discord with Mark Fletcher last week and he was telling me about this. Again, there's no room there, Adam, and he's going to get hit again by the BMW, and it's unnecessary. He didn't need to squeeze him to the left like that. There was no point. If we go to the chopper cam, you'll see he's got every reason to go over to the right here. And the car goes left.
I mean, yeah, it looks like Nils Core just continues on his trajectory. Adam Watson tries to squeeze to force Nils narrow, but there isn't that much of an overlap where you can afford to go to try and squeeze a car like that. Maybe if you're side by side, you're not going to come off too badly, but if there's a car with a nose up your inside, if you're going to try and squeeze it to the inside, you could easily get pitted. It was very fortunate, I think, for Adam Watson there that he didn't take himself out in that equation, because that was just an unnecessary risk. And I think it's just down to the night time, potentially the drivers struggling to gauge distance to one another, potentially, because we've seen a lot of cars trying to move across nose of one another, or maybe trying to close the door when they don't realise that there's an overlap.
Yeah, maybe so. I think it's just taking away that little bit of peripheral vision, or just that little bit of awareness. Oh no, in front there's Jacob Money and Andy Hopley. Well, the two of them have been threatening to crash into each other for the last 3 laps or so. And Jacob Money, well, I feel like he's been overly frustrated by that, because that's not the first time in this race that the two of them have made contact. Andy's been pushing. Look, he's pushed him once, he's pushed him again, and well, that was reactive, I'd say. I think it's safe to say, from Jacob Money. And that's also led to the sudden jumping off of the circuit. But I'm afraid that is not how we like to see it happen. Simon Povey continues to lead.
It might have been also just down to the contact that caused the car to maybe lose some rear end traction as well, because it looked like it was, as the car was sort of bumped off wide, trying to get back, maybe it just lost a little bit of momentum. That's the only thing I can do to sort of save Jacob Money's blushes there, because like you say, it was look a little bit reactive at first glance. But moving on to Simon Povey out in front, look at the gap that he's been able to accrue, nearly 2.5 seconds to beat Thicket in the Scuderia Chicken House. You can't actually see it too brightly in the dark, can you?
No, absolutely not. It's not as glittery or as shiny in these conditions. I'm sure Gary Toll would hopefully make it shiny. He's certainly having a good run of it at the moment. It's Gary, started 3rd on the grid in this race, and he continues to stay up there. Sorry, he started 2nd on the grid, but he's dropped to 3rd after the start that Pete Thicket had, but that's been the only position he's dropped. There's a great battle going on here between Andre Mayerek and Mike Horder. Mike's been all over the back of him for ages, and well, he's certainly going to be feeling like that Mercedes is the widest car in the world right now. He's been trying to get through. He's not been as flamboyant trying to come through, but it's certainly been a long overdue manoeuvre, I'd say, from him at the moment. Dominic Brennan's behind the pair of them in the Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped machine, and then behind them Adam Watson and Matthias Pentila. They're hoping to come through as well. This other 2 pairs of headlights following on. We've got a very colourful and beautiful grid though again in this sort of off season.
Like we've got sort of 3 sort of magenta or sort of purpley cars all together, don't we? We've got obviously Taylor Adams, Andre Mayerek and Mike Horder all together battling for position. Not sure if Taylor Adams needs to have his team renamed from Regenta Sim Racing to Magenta Sim Racing with that lovely little paint job he's got there. He's trying to break away from Andre. Black and purple as well, a lovely colour combination. Even in the night time you can see when the headlights illuminate it. Oh my god, again a little close comfort there with Dominic Brennan trying a cheeky move, but not able to get the driver out of the corner to make it stick. And Mike Horder, we've seen him throughout the seasons as part of the Racing Racing Magazine event family, and trying to make yet another pass here from Andre, but no moves seemingly coming through just yet.
2 drivers a bit further down actually that are really hoping to improve on their positions are these two, James Holman and Niels Core. 17th and 18th at the moment. Sorry, 16th and 17th at the moment. I can't read tonight. Maybe the dark's getting to my head as well. But we've got 19 and a half minutes left in this race to go, and it is Simon Povey for Spontex CDM Esports Unwrapped that leads the way. Pete Thickett going really well in the other McLaren, the Scuderia Chicken House car, and then Spontex CDM Esports Gary Tall actually closing in on him on that lap. He was 0.4 of a second quicker than him, and the guys behind even quicker than that as well. Taylor Adams is leading that group very, very well, but Andre Mayerek still defending this position with his life, and he's doing a great job of it, because it's just so distracting when you've got headlights all piling in behind you, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be a little bit unnerving and maybe sometimes disorienting, especially if you see some of the headlights start to the inside and dart back around to the racing line. It can just throw you off that little bit more than in the daylight when drivers try these cheeky little half looks here and there. Like I was saying, it becomes a little bit harder to judge the distance to the cars around you in the dark, especially if they're in rear view mirrors.
It's great, isn't it? Night racing just looks so good. So good. It's so much better than it used to here on iRacing. The cars used to glow in the dark completely, even with no lights on them. We never really had a full day-night cycle either. There was only a couple of circuits you could race at in the dark, and it does look so much better than it used to. Still looking a little bit outdated at the moment is iRacing's visuals, but it's not an easy service to work on by the look of it. I mean, there's so much that goes on with the data and the work behind the scenes at iRacing, and the way these cars are scanned. It's not as simple as they just build them from nothing. They don't just all make it up. It's all using real data that's been scanned and worked into the sim, and their implementation means it's not the easiest thing to then add the visuals to. But we do hope that, of course, there is still a graphical overhaul at some point. Still looks great. I mean, by any standards, It still looks good, but we know that you can always tell when you're looking at iRacing over other simulators, I'm afraid. I have to say it. But still. You
can also tell, I think, when it's a slightly older scan of a circuit as well, like Suzuka is when you compare it to, say, something a little bit fresher, something like, of course, Manicore, which does look pretty nice in our racing. Whereas when you compare it to some of the older circuits on the service, they do lag a little bit behind sort of like the visual fidelity you have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the service is bump mapping, as they call it. So you could have a surface like the racing track itself that looks completely flat, and as a matter of fact, as an object in the sim, could be completely flat and smooth. But you can do something called bump mapping, which means that when light hits it, it simulates the fact that it's got tiny bumps and lumps and things on it, and little blemishes and imperfections. And a lot of the newer circuits on iRacing have fantastic bump mapping on them, so that when you do get reflections and all sorts, you can see every little stone in the asphalt and every little sort of grainy bit in the white lines as well. Suzuka is an older scan, of course. Watson there giving Dominic Brennan a bit of a hurry up. And again, just no need to make the contact really at that point of the circuit, because all you're going to be doing is holding yourself up. Wondering whether, I can't remember whether it was Adam or somebody else actually. I was talking with Mark Fletcher, the manager of Altitude Esports, about one of his drivers who've got a crazy FOV on his car, or at least he thought it was crazy. I didn't think it was that bad, but maybe Adam doesn't quite know where the front of the car is sometimes. Side by side with Dominic Brennan around the outside as Horder tries to cut back. Oh, that's a lovely cutback by Watson, that. Perfect, but no, doesn't quite get around the cardboard machine. He's folded.
I love the little fun there. I also love on the rear wing. It says champions of less effort, but it's going to take a lot of effort, I think, to get past Dominic Brennan at the moment. You can see Adam Watson's trying it, looking up the inside. Started off, I think it's a half look, but I think it's fair to say Dominic Brennan has seen what's happened to other cars around him at this point in the race and thinks, I'll give you the space and I'll just carry my pace all the way around the outside and hold on to it that way. Seems to be working out for Dominic at the moment, but he has lost a little bit of ground to like Horder in the pack up ahead. Still though, it's a long train, isn't it? It goes all the way up to Pete Thickett in second place. Taylor Adams has tried a cheeky little move, and has he got that one stuck on Gary Tall? I think he has, you know.
He has, yeah, down the inside into the chicane. They were nearly 3 wide at one point as well. Gary was closing in on Pete Thickett, but then Taylor Adams has spoiled the party for Gary, and he's actually cost him a place. And yeah, champion of less effort is actually the slogan of Spontex, the cleaning company, or the cleaning products company. But does it not sum me up? Flipping heck. Matis Pentila is just off the back of this group. He's got this massive train of them all in front of him, though. Bright, beautiful, wonderful blue, purple, magenta, cardboard, white, all of it shining away in the lights. Pete Thickett in second place, though, and let's not forget we're on board with Pentila, who's in 9th position right now. So plenty of points to be gained here. Just 1 point per position ahead of him, though. So at certain points, you know, you could maybe get up to 3rd and be right behind the second place car. It might not be worth that 1 extra point with all the risk that you could take, you know?
It's just, like I say, all about managing risk and deciding when is the best time to take it and when is the best time just to sit back and just take what you've got at the moment. I think for a lot of these drivers, though, because it is the Winter Tour, it's not maybe the same sort of level of prestige that the normal season has. The drivers can afford to take those risks, and like you say, it's a bit like the off-season where drivers are here for maybe less high stakes and want to just get involved and try and, you know, fight for every single position they see, which might also explain some of the goings-on we've seen, at least in the second race of the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a little bit scrappier than we're used to seeing, but at the end of the day, a lot of these drivers are still getting used to one another. They're drivers that haven't raced with each other as long as some others in the field have, and obviously we're in very different conditions to what we're used to as well, not just in terms of the race length, but also being in pitch black darkness, which we don't often see in Sim Racing Magazine. We have some of our twilight races, of course, that go from sunset to almost pitch black darkness, but I can't remember the last time we went completely full pitch black. The next race, actually, which is another endurance race at Okayama, which is going to be round 4 of the championship in just a week's time, that is scheduled to start even later on in the day on iRacing, which is almost going to be pitch black all the way through. So we may have a bit of a poll to bring that forward so it's not complete pitch black darkness, because while it is cool and it's a lovely gimmick, I think as a broadcasting perspective and as a spectating perspective, it doesn't quite have the same impetus as real world night racing. So we've given it a go, but this is a test bed of a season, so there will be things that develop, there will be things that change.
I think it depends a lot on the circuit as well.
Yes,
I think with this
100%.
one where it doesn't have the floodlights, it's not so great. Whereas if you go to somewhere like Daytona, where we've had night races in the past, it just looks spectacular, doesn't it, with the floodlights and everything. So I think certain rounds might be good for nighttime racing. Maybe here at Suzuka, this is one that we'll keep during the daylight, maybe switching towards the twilight, because it did look very nice. Indeed, this is a nice little move up the inside with Taylor Adams on Pete Thickett. Pete's going to try and fight his way back through. Look at that, wonderful through Degner 1 and into Degner 2. It's Taylor Adams that has to more cover off than anything else.
Look at this lot.
Look at them all scrapping away.
You got Brennan down the inside there of Horder. You've now got Watson on the outside of Horder.
They're on the outside of them.
Oh no, there's contact between Mayerek and Horder, and Pentila gets caught up in it. All the Mercedes just self-implode. Oh no, Horder was a little bit impatient, I think, on the exit. We'll have to have a look at it again. Tom Weston's going to gain some freebies. But yeah, Taylor Adams is still 3rd, but there's a big gap now back to Gary Tall, and he's got his stablemate Dominic Brennan looking down the inside. Hey, that would be 3 Spontex CDM Esports cars inside the top 5. 2 of them for the Unwrapped team, and Gary Tall running as a lone wolf for the standard Spontex CDM Esports livery in this part. By the way, Mike Murphy, Ben Chalcroft and Nico Minardi all together on the circuit here. All 3 Minardi SimSport cars right with each other. Chalcroft's gained 10 places, Mike Murphy's gained 13, and all of them are on for championship points finishing positions.
Yeah, definitely, of course. In the Teams Championship, it's in their interest that Mike Murphy stays in, I think, 12th place. And
yes.
Ben Chalcroft and Nico Minardi keep where they are. Maybe they can battle away, because obviously it's for Teams Championship positions. I don't think Mike Murphy got that memo. He's decided to get involved in the battle. I mean, fair enough. It is the Winter Tour. Why not have a bit of a scrap with your teammates and have a laugh? Why not? Meanwhile, though, having a look at some of the action up ahead, Swandex CDM Esports Unwrapped are very much happy because Gary Tall has gotten ahead Dominic Brennan rather has got ahead of Gary Tall. Adam Watson's looming in the background, and I think for Gary Tall, his memo is keep Adam Watson in behind, not just for the sort of drivers' championship, but also for the teams, because let's not forget, Swantex CDM Esports Unwrapped did sort of drop back a little bit in the teams' championship fight to Altitude Esports, but following some of the goings on in the second race, I think the only Altitude Esports car in the points is Adam Watson. He's down in 5th place, so it's a chance to maybe claw back some points.
Absolutely, that was very determined by Adam Watson there to get ahead of Gary Tall, and he's made it work. Very nicely done indeed. We've got side by side here between James Holman and Niels Kaur. Just misses the canards on the front of the BMW there. Very, very close between these two. Two of the finest drivers in the field making their way back up. They're both into the points again. Now it's Adam Watson who's going to go chasing after Dominic Brennan. He's had a great run through the order as Adam, gaining 10 places, but a little bit unsavoury in the way that he's gone about some of that, unfortunately. It's affected a few of his colleagues around him, but hopefully it doesn't affect Dominic Brennan here, because the two of them have both had a good run of it. Dominic started 10th on the grid, is now up into 4th place and wants some championship points now that he's wearing the right livery for this week. His teammate Simon Povey, well, he's there somewhere in the darkness as he goes through 130R into the chicane with 8.5 minutes left on the clock. But look at this behind him, because Taylor Adams is once again trying it on Pete Thickett, and the McLaren, well, he is defending very, very well right now, Ed. This is great stuff.
Certainly is. Putting up stalwart defence here to keep Taylor Adams at bay. It's be very good. Pete Thickett if he is to bring it through. Pace as well, not too far for Simon Povey's actually is Pete. He's just about a few tenths down, but when you're up against the likes of Simon Povey, being a few tenths down means you're pretty rapid. So Pete Thickett certainly with some good pace to try and keep Taylor at bay. Maybe though we're getting to the point of the race where maybe the McLarens are starting to struggle. Obviously on a colder track it's going to suit them a bit better, but still we know that on the tyres it can get to around like the halfway point in the normal races where they do begin to struggle.
James Holman's throwing the kitchen sink at Nico Minardi right now. He's really launched the Aston Martin around, and look at the confidence he's got in that car. Niels Kaur knows what the score is as well, and he had to back out of that one actually for a moment there and sort of watch James attack the car in front of him. Still so many close battles all over though. Dominic Brennan only just in front of Adam Watson. Adam's trying a wider line to then maybe get a cut back, but they've both caught up with the battling cars in front of them, and we've suddenly got a 6-car train for second position here. It's still Pete Thickett leading Taylor Adams, Dominic Brennan, Adam Watson, Gary Tall and Matthias Penteler. James Holman has got past Nico Minardi for now, just as he leaves the hairpin. He's got the other two Minardi Simsport cars in front. They all look great together under lights, but they're all going to be worrying about these two unbelievably quick drivers that are closing in on them. It's great to have Holman back on our screens again. His night's not gone completely his way so far, but I know he'll be a happy boy, won't he, with the fact that he's still showing great pace in this Aston Martin.
Definitely, and it's going to be enlightening for him if he does decide to stick with the Aston Martin, the lessons he learns from this winter tour, and carry on towards the next season. But also if he doesn't stick with the Aston Martin, if he changes his mind and goes to a different car for next season, maybe going to the Mercedes or the Porsche, he'll know the Aston a bit more intimately, inside and out, its strengths and weaknesses, and that could help him to maybe battle like he's doing now up the inside of the number 13 of Nico Minardi. I'm not sure if that was just netcode more than anything else, the McLaren bounced up in the air.
Yeah, there was a bit of contact, but not much. It was certainly, I think Nico just expected a little bit less of Holman there. He squeezes Niels Kaur to the apex in turn one, says not on your life, have a bit of that. Great defending from Nico. He's really getting his elbows out and getting stuck in, but I'm sure that might rile Niels up in the wrong way there. But look at this now, Taylor Adams sandwiched in 3rd place. And he's got cars in front of him, cars behind him. I wouldn't know where to look, to be honest with you. He's got Adam Watson, who is now ahead of Dominic Brennan. And Adams trying to get a podium here. Obviously won the first race earlier. And well, he's been fired up by that, hasn't he?
Really has. It's been a very exciting second sprint race here at Suzuka. And there's still some life left in this battle for second place. Adam Watson just waiting in the wings in behind Taylor Adams and Pete Thickett. While Dominic Brennan's going to look maybe for a pass on the Aston Martin, and actually Adam Watson's going to be opportunistic. He sees the gap on the inside, accounting for the mistake of Taylor Adams, but just can't quite get the run out of the corner.
Well, it's certainly great racing once again here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour, thanks to our championship sponsors, by the way, Oris Digital, Crockery Direct and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Because of them, you are watching this racing here on Chaz Draycott Media as part of the Sim Racing Magazine events GT4 Winter Tour. Hope you're enjoying yourselves here tonight, everybody. This is great stuff from Pete Thicket. Well, I don't think he's going to be enjoying himself right now, is he? He was saying how slow he was coming into this meeting. He's going to be loving the fact that he's up in second place.
He's going to be absolutely overjoyed with himself. He's having a great evening as well, I think it's fair to say. He's got some good points in the first race and on for some even better points here in the second. Hunting down podium place.
Oh, no.
Look at that cheeky move up the inside, and the two cars seeming merging into one another.
That was very strange. We've seen a little bit of that before, but not for that long without one of the cars getting spat off the road. That was remarkable stuff that they both managed to carry on. There may have been a bit of a reaction there from Pete Thicket. Let's have a look. I mean, it was very naughty by Taylor, but he threw it up the inside. He used Pete to get the car stopped, in all fairness. Pete now losing a place to Adam Watson. Dominic Brennan wants a piece of this as well. I think Pete, for the sake of championship points here, needs to just make sure that he doesn't try anything silly on Adam Watson, because it's easy to feel really hard done by something like that and then send it on them at the next corner. But looks like he's got his head in the game here, the Scuderia Chicken House driver. He may have lost a podium spot, but we've seen great performance here this evening from Pete Thicket in this second race. And this is what's such a feel-good story, isn't it, in a format like this, Ed? We don't always get this same sort of thing in endurance races or in our hour-long races. But over the course of an evening with two races, you get that sort of driver that, yeah, sure, they may not have qualified right at the sharp end, but if they did a good enough job in race one to get that reverse grid pole, they can stay up there. They can show they've got the pedigree and the racecraft to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And this battle isn't, over and done with just yet. Ed Dilla is sitting in the background waiting to see if Dominic Brennan maybe makes a mistake in his assault now of Pete Thicket. Taylor Adams just needs to hang on for a few more corners to take second place. Adam Watson for Altitude Esports is going to certainly limit the damage in the team's championship with this podium finish. It's been a great evening for Adam after winning the first race to get podium in the second, starting all the way towards basically 15th place. No small feat, but out in front, Simon Povey, he's just got to hang on for a little bit more, doesn't he, just to get it over the line and take the race victory, his first of the season.
Yeah, he's in there somewhere, is Simon. He was really hoping to win at Fuji, but obviously with the strategy that he and Niels Kaur were playing, Niels just got the better of him near the end of the race and managed to hold the lead. Now it's whether Taylor Adams can hold second place here. We know how quick Taylor is. He's absolutely rapid. Doing a wonderful job in the Sim Racing Magazine Cours au Mans for Regenta Sim Racing. He's got Adam Watson behind him, who has been really fired up this evening. Adam has been living up to his nickname, that's for sure. It's been a bit sendy at places, but it's been exciting to watch, it has to be said. Cars behind are close as well. That's Pete Thicket with Dominic Brennan putting him under pressure. It's the two Astons, then the two McLarens, and then the Mercedes. We've got three McLarens inside the top five, and when we were talking about qualifying earlier on, we were saying that there was not really any McLarens right up there at the sharp end. What are we going to see from Watson then? Is there going to be a dive down the inside? He does look down the inside of Taylor Adams. Taylor's just giving him enough room on the exit. Oh, there's a little bit of argy-bargy, but I think that was both of them getting a bit squirrely on the way out of the corner there. It's easy to do with that hairpin. No, Nico Minardi's off the road. He's lost a place or two. Niels Kaur goes through. Back to this. Bit of a flash of the lights there by Watson. I'm not quite sure why he feels hard done by. I think Taylor Adams just had a bit of a wobble. So did he. Bit of contact by both of them. Dominic Brennan suddenly got Pete Thicket trying to get down the inside as well. We've got another car off. Kim Such is off at the hairpin. He's just going to be a spectator for now. There was more drama there. We'll have to come back to that in a moment, because Simon Povey, he is there, I promise. He is there somewhere. All on his own at the front of the field here. A lick of flame from the McLaren. Dominic Brennan and Pete Thicket are side by side into 130R. That's not going to help anybody. But round the final corner, well, he's played the game and he's made it work tonight. Simon Povey wins round 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour. Great result for Simon. Taylor Adams is going to finish in second place. Very well done to him, and a great night for Adam Watson when it comes to results. Pete Thickett is next up, and Matthias Penteler took another position off Dominic Brennan at the end there, Ed. He certainly made most of that.
He really did. Wonderful, wonderful stuff up and down the field. Andre Meyerek just hangs on to 8th place ahead of Gary Tall. Mike Murphy likewise just up ahead of James Holman. But what a race by Simon Povey, commanded from the start till the end, much like Adam Watson did in the first race. Mike Murphy, 10th place, gaining 15 places. What an achievement that is.
Yeah, fantastic drive that by Mike Murphy. Biggest mover in the field in that one. Adam Watson gained 12 places. Nobody else gained more than 10 positions in that entire encounter. That's Mike Murphy and Ben Chalcraft. They're two teammates at Minardi Simsport. Mike obviously racing for Minardi Simsport Green this season, but Ben Chalcraft racing for Minardi Simsport overall. Nico Minardi has pulled over to the side of the road there, maybe feeling a little bit battered and bruised after that one, but still 2 championship points to him, and a very entertaining night of racing yet again, as we actually wait for Heinz Meyer to complete the race in his Porsche. He's the championship sponsor as well, so we'll give him his airtime as Crockery Direct and Oris Digital. Thank you very much for what you do for the series, Heinz. We don't have our championship sponsor on track actually tonight, which is Drew Fletcher for Series 1 Racing. He is the man behind Derbyshire Holiday Homes, and also to him we send our big thanks. So, there's the result for round 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Winter Tour. Simon Povey takes the race win, 8.4 seconds over Taylor Adams and Adam Watson. Great races by both of those guys. Pete Thickett in 4th place with Matthias Penteler up next in 5th place. Dominic Brennan was 6th ahead of Tom Weston. Great recovery by Tom that as well, actually, up into 7th place. He gained 9 spots to get up there. Behind him was Andre Meyerek for ORD. Then Gary Tall eventually finished 9th, some championship points for Gary, with Mike Murphy completing the top 10 and gaining the most places out of anybody in that race. Next up was James Holman in 11th, ahead of Ben Chalcraft. Niels Kaur will feel a bit hard done by after that one, with Mike Horder 14th and Mark Johnson completing the top 15 positions, and of course the point scorers. Arthur Thurtle was 16th after his spin at the start. We didn't actually really look back and check on Arthur's progress. Apologies, Arthur. Kim Such finishing in 17th ahead of Ralph Mayer, and then Toby Johns, Nico Minardi and Heinz Meyer next up. Nico actually dropping way down the order there, didn't he? He finished on the road 14th. So I'm not sure if he had some sort of penalty or something there, actually.
Must have done, yeah.
He must have, yeah, because if I click on Nico and have a look back, yeah, he was just behind Toby Johns. Yeah, there was 40. Yeah, he was 41 seconds ahead of Toby Johns, and usually if you get a penalty in iRacing, it equates to about 42 seconds. So Nico, unfortunately, they're having some sort of penalty that drops him out of the points. That gives Mark Johnson that point. Michael Seal, 1 lap down. Jacob Money, Andrew Hopley and Philip Hopley not finishing the race. Well, we'll try and somehow get back somewhere in the replay where we can actually see cars. And wow, I can't believe it was almost that light when the race started. It was completely pitch black darkness by the end of it, Ed. We've got 2 drivers waiting for interviews. Who do you want to chat with first?
Let's have a look and see who we've got waiting in the wings. You know what, shall we have a chat to Adam Watson, because he was in the thick of a lot of the action in that second race.
Absolutely.
And to be fair, the first as well.
Yeah, indeed. A great night, really, in terms of results for you, Adam. A very busy one indeed. Talk us through how that one was, because it looked a little bit dramatic at certain points.
I don't know where the qualifying lap came from. We saw what Niels did in Francis, and we was like, he's going to be difficult to beat. But yeah, I managed to turn the tyres on and grab the pole somehow, which then race 1 was I struggled in race 1, like for the first 5 laps, because I have a difficult issue of turning the car on. I just have no grip for the first 5 laps, so I had Simon over me, then Matthias was over me as well, so I just had to try and manage it, and then have my brake bias on like a little switch, and I kept moving it forward, so I then had 4+4 on the brake bias, which meant I then struggled for a couple laps working out why I was not stopping. we then brought Matthias and all that closer to me, and then figured out, and then managed just to keep the gap, and then did the race 1. Race 2, it's difficult to see what was going on with the lights, but it was chaotic. However, apologise to James for turning him. I tried to scare him off the line, didn't. I was like trying to back out, but James already turned in and I couldn't get my nose out, so apologise for that. And with Nils was just, we netcoded a little bit, but I should have probably tried to be over on the right a bit more, so give him a message in a bit to say sorry for that as well, because it wasn't what I wanted to do.
That's fair enough, Adam. I mean, at the end of the day, we knew the conditions were going to be very difficult for everybody tonight, but I didn't think we really expected it to be as dark as it was, as stupid as that might sound, because it was absolutely. I mean, I've got these monitors that run a what they call a true black setting, so literally it's like the LEDs are off when it is dark, and honestly, I thought that there was parts of my monitor that started failing throughout that. It was that dark, so I'm not surprised. There was a little bit of argy-bargy out there on circuit, but it certainly looked like a lot of fun in the GT4s. Now that we've actually got you up there in the field without any technical issues, what are your thoughts now going ahead to Okayama in a week's time, as Spotify decides it doesn't like me?
Okayama's probably a track that everyone knows, so I don't think there's any secrets that people will be lying around. It's gonna be whether it's an Aston track or not, because the Aston likes the TC and it has a really aggressive TC bog. So if you, especially showing the hairpins, I think it's where me and Arthur's going to struggle. But yeah, it's good to be back up there in the championship after internet didn't want to work for me last week and kept kicking me out, and then me being an idiot and getting myself a speeding penalty. It's good to finally get some points on it and help Arthur and the teams as well.
Well, it's been great to have you guys in the championship already after just the 3 races we've done, and we hope it goes well for you at Okayama, mate. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
The whole Altitude Esports team, sponsors, Fletch for keeping me on the team, should we say? You'll know what I mean. Just everyone, obviously Arthur being a good teammate. We definitely worked on how we can get the most out of this car. Even though it's on a fixed set, there's still a bit of, still things you can learn and do with the car.
Well, it's great fun to watch already, Adam. Thank you very much for jumping in, mate. And hopefully we'll speak to you at Okayama. Have a good one.
Thank you. See you later.
There we go, Ed. Nice of Adam to apologise at least. He knew that, the contact isn't what he wanted to do at the end of the day. He was just trying to get on with his race and move forward as quickly as possible. And it's not easy like that, especially around a place like Suzuka where it feels very close quarters.
Yeah, I already said as well, it was just in the darkness, it becomes a lot harder to judge distances, judge when you're clear, when you're not clear. It becomes all the more tricky. So I think that was fair to bring up, and also, obviously, like you say, great that he immediately brought the apologies out for all of the incidents. But regardless, what a good evening's worth of racing. And actually, I thought we weren't going to have a chance to speak to this driver. He seemed to hop off, but he's back in the booth with us, Chaz.
Yes, indeed. Tom Weston, welcome to the booth, my friend. You must be pretty happy after that second race, at least. 9 places gained up inside the top 10. Talk us through it.
I'd got a little bit of an advantage because I'd raced here last week in the dark, so I knew that I had no luck in race 1. So race 1 was really tough. I got collected on the hairpin, so I knew it was going to be damage limitation. So the aim was to finish P15th. That was the plan, which I was so close to doing. Obviously Simon got P15, so I knew that would obviously put me on pole. So it was a case of damage limitation for race 2. And then race 2, it was just, I've never seen anything like it. It was just, there was cars everywhere. It was obviously in the dark. It was really difficult. So I just thought I'd play a bit of a strategy game and just try and, stay on track.
Absolutely. I was going to say it's the optimum strategy there is just to survive, I think, but it was certainly a different kettle of fish to what we're used to. How confident are you going to Okayama next time out? Because it's still got that notoriously slippy Japanese tarmac, hasn't it?
Yeah. I'm not super confident the track. It's not a track that I've raced on a lot, so it's going to take a bit of practice this week. But Yeah, the car's feeling good. I'm getting used to it now. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a good finish. Hopefully, if we can finish in the top 10 again, then that'll be a good night's work for me.
Well, it'll certainly be a belter to go back to Okayama. I can't remember the last time I even broadcasted there, to be honest with you, so I'm looking forward to it as well. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Tom, before we let you go this evening?
Yeah, just my new teammates at airracesummaries.com and DCW Racing, and you guys again for putting the race on.
Thanks very much, Tom. Always a pleasure to speak to you, mate. We'll see you again very soon. Have a good evening.
Yeah, take care. See you soon.
There we go, Tom Weston in the booth there, Ed. I don't think we've had many interviews with Tom before, and I was just trying to cast my mind back to if we had an interview with him, but he's certainly a driver that has massively improved since we first saw him in the Sim Racing Magazine community.
Yeah, he has, and it's great to see, obviously, the drivers just develop and get better and better every time we see them, and you know what, hopefully we see and hear plenty more of Tom Weston in good spirits, because he's thoroughly deserved it after that performance tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It's been great fun to watch, and a very, very busy night of racing. We'll have to check out the championship points and see how all of that has worked itself out, because there's going to be a lot of mix-ups there, but that's why we've got this format in place. It's going to keep it very spicy for us all season. One final thanks as well to Oris Digital, Crockery Direct and Derbyshire Holiday Homes for their sponsoring of the Sim Racing Magazine events GT4 Winter Tour. Thanks also to my co-commentator Ed May. It's always a pleasure. It's great to have you back in the box. Glad you're feeling better-ish. And of course, it's always a pleasure to bring you this fantastic racing from this great community, everybody. I've been Chaz Draycott with the wonderful Ed May alongside me for the Sim Racing Magazine events GT4 Winter Tour. We'll see you in a week's time at Okayama, everybody, but for now, have a fantastic evening.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and a drift to show off. Back there, go on ball with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.